Do you know what time it is? It's tea time with Mamé and Liz.
Welcome to Tea Time with Mamé and Liz. I'm Liz.
And I'm Mamé, and we're a part of Believe What's Possible. We're two of the co-founders out of the four. And we work to reveal sentiments before youth voice within Minnesota's political processes. And today we're here to just chat a little bit, give y'all some good information, and also just sip some really good tea. Liz, what tea are you sipping?
A nice green tea.
I'm also sipping a nice green tea. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you. How's been your weekend?
Oh, my weekend was great. How was yours?
As you know, I came back from Chicago, so it was cute.
Just doing the thing.
I was always doing the thing. It was actually really great. I always say I love to do a little partying while I'm out. So definitely went on a couple cute nights. Had a wine night on Sunday. It was really great, really fab.
Okay. We're
Yeah.
excited to have you back.
Thank you.
Well, let's jump into it.
Yes.
So, there are municipal elections this year
Lord.
in Minnesota.
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
Well, there's a particularly spicy race in Minneapolis for the mayoral candidate.
Oh, is there? Is there?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't
And
know that.
all 13 seats on the Minneapolis City Council are also up for grabs.
Gag.
So lots of candidates for
Lots
these
of
local
candidates.
elections,
Uh,
and most of them are from the same party. So how do we
Big
decide who we're
T.
supposed
Big
to vote
T.
for?
Big T.
Well, we caucus.
Amen.
Have you ever been to a caucus before, Mamé?
Girl, last year I went to one. I went to my first one.
Tell me
It was
about
cute.
it.
It was cute. Me and my good friend, I like snagged them to come with me because I was like, I'm not going to this by myself.
Yeah.
And so we went, and it was cute, but it was spicy. It was real
Okay,
spicy.
okay.
There was this old man, and he was just like getting buck with everybody. Like
That's the old
very
man.
much. No, he very much like took over the entire caucus, and
Ah.
even like the
They do
the
be doing that.
organizers, with a lot of audacity. Even the organizers were trying to get him, but it was interesting seeing a lot of the conversations, a lot of the topics that were bringing up, and also I think how little people engage with caucuses. So like, I think it's really interesting, and it's also funny because like Minnesota specifically is like one of the like specific states who have like political caucuses, and so I think it's very interesting to like just engage in that in a way that I've never engaged before, and seeing how many people actually engage with it. So there'll be older people, but the potential for like young people to be in that space.
Yeah.
It's pretty
Okay.
cool.
As a first timer going, did you know what you were getting yourself into?
No. I actually did not know. Not only did I not realize just how spicy it can get, but also I think it was just one of those situations where I didn't know the potential that it had for power building within local elections, the ways that it holds so much nuance in terms of engaging, how long the process is, like the minute you become a delegate and all the things, and we'll get into what all of those things
Yeah.
are. Just how like you engage with it, and how like it really positions you to understand the ways that like specifically in Minnesota, how like parties are ran.
Well, maybe we should start with what the hell is a caucus?
Please explain to me.
All right. I mean,
Please.
in its like simplest form, a caucus is a meeting of people from a political party. So you just get together with the girls, and at said meeting or caucus, you select delegates. We'll get a little into that later, but you select delegates. You could pass resolutions, among other things. Now, have you ever been to the convention before?
I don't think I did. Oops. My bad. Will I go to convention this year? If I become a delegate, maybe okay.
Yes.
A couple of days
You'll go to convention.
Oh, Lord. Yes, but tell me about convention. What is she giving?
Okay. Now, conventions are where delegates from the caucuses
Mm-hmm.
come together
Mm-hmm.
and endorse candidates.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to young people, very few in those rooms.
Very few. Oh my gosh. I remember in Caucus, I was literally in a meeting just before this, talking to someone about it, and I was like, in my caucus personally, I think there was around like 25 to 30 people in the room. And I think only 5 of them identified as young people. And like I talked to all of them, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, what's up?" And like they all were just like, "I wish there was more of us in this room."
What's going on?
Like there was like 10 old men.
Why not change that?
Exactly.
I mean, that's what we're here for. That's what we're gonna do. Okay, so each party runs caucuses a little differently. Now there aren't other party caucuses in Minneapolis this time around, but the DFL, or Democratic Farmer Labor Party,
yes.
they have their caucus night April 8th this year.
Yes, they do.
And unlike voting, anyone over 16 can attend their caucus.
Yes, they can.
So regardless of immigration status, you can still show up and participate. You only have to be over 18 to be selected a delegate or to vote. And you have to be 18 by the time the next election comes around. But other than that, anyone can show up.
Beautiful.
Delegates selected at caucus. They then go to either ward conventions, which will be in April or May. It'll be depending on ward, and or the city convention in July. And these, again, are important for endorsing candidates.
Yes.
So,
yes, very much.
What's an endorsement?
Well, an endorsement is basically like, and for anyone who doesn't know this, I found this out very recently, i.e. last year when I went to my first caucus, is specifically in Minnesota, parties like the caucusing convention is the ways that when you get to the actual election, like the voting polls, and you see the person who's under a Democrat, that is the endorsement. Like they are given that role to be the representative for that party. And I find it really interesting that we have a lot of choice in who gets that place, because a lot of people will just vote off party alone. They won't look into the candidate themselves. They won't really do a lot of research. They very much know that I'm a part of this party and this is who I vote for.
Up and down the ballot.
Whoever that is, I'm going to sign that little dot and give it to them. I was like, okay. So this is very much the process of giving the person who we feel holds the most alignment to, like, especially as young people, that endorsement, right?
Exactly.
That holds a lot of power.
It's, just a stamp of approval from the party, like the DFL. And an interesting thing is that in the past decade, 95% of DFL endorsed candidates ended up winning their election in November. So it's big time. It's important. And you also get access to other like DFL resources, like the VAN or the voter database. So then they can use that information to do tactics like phone banking, text banking, door knocking, So let's talk about wards.
Okay.
There are 13 wards in Minneapolis. 13. And
1-3.
The big 1-3.
The big 1-3.
And each ward has 400 delegates that they can have at the ward convention. So that's just the wards. Each ward has 400. So that's a lot. Yes, up to 400. This year, it happens that, Ward 2, Precinct 6, I believe. So that's the University of Minnesota Superblock. That's students, right? They have just about the same amount of delegates that they can have as Ward 2, Precinct 8, which is in the Seward neighborhood. So that's like single family homes.
Yes.
So this is big. This is big for students, big for young people, lots of opportunity for them to become delegates and have an equal playing field, right?
Come out.
Right? Come on, University of Minnesota students.
U
of M girlies. Okay, well, here comes the tea.
Okay.
So, let me take a sip really quick. The total number of city delegates this year is 800. So that's across the whole city, 800. Okay. And they're allocated based on past voter turnout. I know! One example is Ward 13, Southwest Minneapolis. So this will be like East Harriet, Linden Hills, like nice neighborhoods, right? They have 91 city delegates. But Ward 5, where I'm from, North Minneapolis, right? So you got Glenwood, you have North, you have Jordan, Harrison, those neighborhoods. They only have 33. That's 1/3 of the delegates.
We love a good little red line.
Oh my god.
Like always, I genuinely think that's like, specifically as someone who we both I lived in Northside last year. You've grown up in the Northside basically. Like it's very much just very telling the systemic ways that is shaped and how it's utilized very much against us. Because I even think about when I did my first job out of college and figuring out like the lack of like organizing work that's done to bring like even just general Northsiders out to the
Mm-hmm.
polls, and
It's
also how hard
hard.
it is for them to get to the freaking polls.
Yeah.
Like people want to talk about, oh my gosh, Southwest Minneapolis, they turn out cool. Yeah, because they're all
Of course
old
they
white men
do.
who already lived through freaking life, who know the way the system works, and know that their mouths are going to be the most respected. It's like, but yes, continue.
No, I mean, they have the time, they have the means to get there. Ward 13 has the highest voter turnout.
The highest one.
It makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
They're also like the wealthier, whiter population of Minneapolis. They got that money. They have the way to get to the polls, right? They don't have to face a lot of the barriers that other communities do. It's also interesting that it's harder to become a delegate in somewhere like Ward 13, also Ward 11, Ward 12. Mm-hmm. So many people show up. It gets super competitive. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people there, and they're particularly enthusiastic to want to hold that power of being a delegate. Of course. They want that power.
They know, especially because I think like even as a ward that has the highest voter turnout, I know elected officials and candidates are going to go.
They're going to be there. They're going to be there. You will not see a lot of them
because they know that's
at other places.
The power is, but they're not going to show up to North Minneapolis, right? They're not going to pull up there and really talk to the people because. And I think that, like, going back to the point that this is all voter based, mm-hmm. It's like it very much creates this cycle of just like gaslighting. I'm gonna say gaslighting, where like young people, like people like communities of color, are very much told they don't vote, mm-hmm. not given the resources to go vote, mm-hmm. and then curated this idea that because they didn't vote or because they didn't do enough, that their vote was they're not real constituents, they're not real people to vote. It's just I find it very annoying and irritating about how we built the system up to very much like create that boundary.
Yeah, and it goes round and round. Not because people don't want to know, it's just mm-hmm. not available to them. There's also like the barriers like transportation, childcare, that like, and also if you're a first time participant, like. Mm-hmm. This process is so confusing and like low-key intimidating. Like, why would you want to engage?
I didn't do a lot of shit, so I was very much like, I'm not about to go into this. This old white man is actually really taking me off, and I just don't want to become a delegate. But I'll do it this year. Oh my gosh, yay me!
Talk about accessibility.
Yes.
They've done a few things. They've done a few things to make it more accessible. So we legally have
basic needs.
Yeah, right. We have the legal right to time off work. So if you want to go to the caucus, you can literally tell your employer, you give them a 10 days notice saying, I want to go to my caucus. Like, paid time? No, it is not paid. I know, not paid time, but you can't be like punished for going to your caucus if you give them a 10 days notice.
I'll give them that.
You won't be paid during that time.
It's my high school pitching? Yeah, but I'll do that.
Also, like schools, state universities, public schools, community colleges, they can't hold classes or events after 6 p.m. on caucus night.
Oh,
so it's like a way to make sure that time is available for those people to be able to make it. Same with like county boards, school boards, state agencies, they also can't have meetings after 6 p.m. on caucus night. So that everyone can be able to show up. Also, major political parties, they have to attempt to provide an interpreter by request. If you're deaf or hard of hearing, and if you're visually impaired, you can also request the materials ahead of time.
Oh, that's beautiful. Okay, cool.
If you can't attend a caucus in person, you can also fill out a non-attendee form, which everyone should fill out anyway.
Just fill it out.
Right? Just fill it out. It's
I'll fill it out. You fill it out.
A little Google form. Why not? And this gives you the option to be considered for like a delegate position if you can't show up. Let's talk about how to become a delegate.
Yes.
So we did mention that some places are going to have empty spots, less people show up, and then there's places that are more competitive. So in places where you have a good chance of becoming a delegate, it's really not that hard. You show up, you basically nominate yourself. If there's like a few more people, you might like do some sort of voting, but it really is like showing up or filling out a non-attendee form. That way you can be considered regardless.
Get all your girls in your neighborhood.
Literally.
Pull up. Just like wear funny glasses and just pull up. Like
colorful wigs.
You know what I
Colorful wigs
mean?
and showing up. Like
make
why
it
not?
fun.
Yeah.
Or come
Dress
to
up.
April 8th. We'll make it
And
fun
come with
for
us.
you.
Okay. So in other places it is more competitive. Especially
Like
for ward, it might be less competitive because each ward has 400. That's, they each get 400. But for the city, again, 800 across the city. That's and there's a lot of people that want those spots. If there are a lot of folks that are interested, it's pretty competitive. You might have to pitch yourself to the group, right? So I would recommend prepping a 30-second quick speech saying why you deserve or why you want to be a delegate, right? So some folks, they might also be asked if they're willing to be alternates rather than a delegate.
Like understudies.
Yeah, basically like a little understudy, right? And they do that to try to reduce the number of delegates if it's like super competitive, right? However, by DFL rules, if a number of attendees that would be proportional to electing at least one delegate wish to have proportional representation, they have to do it. Like we have to do it. And this is
Explain that.
So this is gonna be the walking sub-caucus. Super fucking confusing. I'm
glad we're doing this.
It's so confusing. So yes, this process is more complicated. It involves math. It's crazy.
And y'all know I'm not good at math. That's the crazy thing.
It's kind of like you spend the next however much time playing four corners, basically, with this group of people.
I remember. I think to do the math at mine, I don't think it took long, but I remember. Oh, I remember what it was. The organizers who were doing it, were doing math, and the people were doing math.
Oh,
and I was like, why are y'all doing that?
Like, let them do
like,
that.
And again, it was the same old dude. He got up and was like, you. And I was like, and I remember homegirl right next to me was like, can you just sit down? Like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, just sit down. And then he got up on his high horse and was like, no, we need to make sure these are right numbers. And I'm like, it was
never that serious.
Turned to each other and very much was like, please sit down. This is never that serious.
Am I explaining it right?
Just make sure you say the caucuses are from Canada. Right now, I don't know why they're.
Cool. Yes.
That makes a lot more sense.
I really have to okay, so I'm going to say it one more time.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, we're playing four corners.
And how it works is, so I'm going to reiterate this so everybody understands. When it comes to caucuses, a big thing, and I remember this from when I was learning about them, is a process that's happening is candidates will also recruit community members to become delegates on their behalf. This is specifically for candidate-based conversations within the caucus, because there's also conversations of voting on issues, voting on different yes. So that will also happen in a caucus. But when conversations of candidates happen, and specifically who's getting the most numbers within a specific precincts, that will be based off of who the group of people who are recruited the most. So what happens is, let's say you have two candidates that are being talked about within a precinct. You have candidate A and you have candidate B. Now you have people who come there uncommitted. That means they have not made their decision of if they want to support a candidate, or they don't want to support any of the candidates and they want to be staying uncommitted. That you can have people still kind of go through that lens. But what that means is the person or the group. So you have A, B, and uncommitted. The person with the most people gets the most number of slots. So if candidate A can recruit the most, they will hold the most power within that precinct of delegates. Cool. So if this is like something where you and your girls all have made a decision on who you support, y'all could basically join. Let's say it's candidate B, and y'all all know that you are supporting candidate B. Cool, beautiful. If y'all have not made the decision and actually just want to make sure that the understanding of who is giving that endorsement is based off of value, y'all can go into it uncommitted. Now, here's my other question, homegirl. When I tell you, Chelsea's coming out because Chelsea's my girl. So let's say it's split where you have can't like the uncommitted group has 10, right? Then candidate A and candidate B get split down 5. Mathematically, that would mean that candidate A and B would have to try to recruit the uncommitted group to their side. In a world.
Like they could or they couldn't.
They could or they couldn't. That's just.
It's not required.
It's not required.
Yeah. Like it would just be distributed that way.
Because then
but they will,
when it gets to convention, right?
Yeah,
this is what I'm trying to figure out. When it gets to convention and you have let's say an entire ward becomes uncommitted, right? How does that then transfer into like let's just say we could flip, y'all walk with me. This is gonna be some political imagination that you've never experienced. And now I just need you to think, get into it, feel it, we're right here. Hold my hands. Cool. This means, let's say there is a wild way that Ward 13, right, gets flipped to uncommitted. In a wild world, like is that not possible?
So I don't understand what you're saying by flip to uncommitted.
Like let's say uncommitted gets the most delegates, right? What does that mean?
A few different things. So either
yes,
you have a bunch of people that are uncommitted.
Yes.
They go to convention. They become delegates saying, I don't know who I'm going to support. They go to convention saying, I still don't know who to support. And candidates in that intervening time will spend a bunch of time trying to convince them to support them.
Cool.
So you will be trying to persuade.
Cool.
People will try and, that's a great way to advocate for an issue you care about, trying to convince candidates to align with your values.
Okay.
Or you could stay uncommitted and you could try and block an endorsement.
Oh! As young people of color, as young queer people, there are ways locally that I think we hold more of a stake within our just varied communities, in our wards, in our precincts, in a ways that like can allow us to just hold more of a say on what happens. That's all I'm gonna say.
I don't know. I think that about covers caucus and convention.
Oh, we did it.
Look at that. We got through that.
That was a lot of information.
That was a lot of information.
How do you feel?
Stressed.
I love that we're being honest to say.
No, because this is gonna be my first time attending caucus, and I'm going in with doing this research, like knowing Ward 5, going in, kind of knowing at least most of the information, but I cannot imagine going in not knowing anything at all.
And I think one of the things that I think we talk about often, especially as a team, especially as an organization, is how much people don't know. And I think I think people just need to hear more of these things. So please save this in your videos, it's on your laptop, bookmark it. I don't care what you need to do. Come back to this. We got some good stuff. If you need more, go and fill out our Join the Movement form on the website on believingwhat'spossible.com. Is it .com? Let them know.
So, for those that are interested in attending their caucus or filling out a non-attendee form, again, they should go to the DFL website. The information's there. It's kind of readable, I guess. Kind of hard to find things sometimes, but you'll be able to find the information that you need.
Please
or
DM Believe What's Possible.
If you have questions,
email Believe What's Possible. Join the
DM
movement,
us.
please. We are here to help y'all. This is literally our way of just sharing information and just showing how we truly feel about this. So let us know if you need anything.
Yeah. Okay, to wrap things up, Here are the most important actions for
Yes.
our generation to take.
Okay.
So number 1, attending your caucus. And might as well put yourself forward as a delegate. Why not? Number 2, fill out a non-attendee form. In case you get sick, you can't make it, why not? You already have that as a first step. Number 3, join Believe in What's Possible. Pre and post caucus on April 8th. We'll be debriefing, sharing thoughts. It'll be a good time with the girls. Well, Mamé,
Liz,
thank you for having tea with me.
of course, anytime. Till next time.
Next time. Cheers.